On. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host, who does the most, Ethan Smith. Hope you all are having a phenomenal Saturday. And what a way to get things kicked off for your Saturday afternoon. Of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates, as you probably saw if you were tuned in here on YouTube or Twitter, just picked up a huge win against the Diamondbacks. Jack Suwinski goes deep, makes it happen, makes things happen. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. A full recap of this game, a full recap of yesterday's game as well. Come in and on and join as well. If I sent you a link to join, you could come in and join and come talk about this game, about everything that was going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates as well. As usual with these live streams, the chat overlay will be available. So we are going to go ahead and pull that up. Of course, on the bottom of the screen, you see hashtag first listen. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your coverage of the Pittsburgh Pirates here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And it's going to be a fun time, everybody. And all of that stuff as well. We are live, so you got to deal with the kinks of being live. But with that said, let's go ahead and get this episode kicked off with a fun video clip.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast here today on a wonderful Saturday, June 4th, where, of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates pick up a major victory over the Arizona Diamondbacks to even up their series. Of course, the offense, as I tweeted out, looked stagnant. It looked boring. It was tiresome. And they came out of the woodwork and said, hey, man, we're done with this. And Jack Suwinski, the rookie, defeated the veteran, Mark Melancon, former Pittsburgh Pirate, the Shark. Couldn't get it done in the bottom of the ninth, and the Pirates wrap up the series. Of course, before we bring in some people, because I did send a link out to a group chat. If you were in that group chat, you are more than welcome to come join this live stream. Come give your thoughts live here on the Locked On Pirates podcast. Of course, Chris Stratton picks up the victory, 1 inning pitched for that. But the big story here, of course, was Roansy Contreras again. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, 2 bases on balls, 8 strikeouts. I guess they have an earned run attributed to him. I'm not really sure. They didn't show who they attributed it to. But his ERA now moves to a 1.93 on the year. Dwayne Underwood comes in with 1 1/3. Crow comes in with 1 inning pitched, and Stratton comes in with 1 inning pitched as well. Of course, Jack Suwinski had the big fly. Of course, another home run to his credit, still leading all National League rookies right now in home runs, pulling his average up to 210 with 2 RBIs, the 2 most crucial RBIs of the game. And with that said, we do have a guest here in Connor Williams. He can't see his cam at the moment, but Connor, what's up, my man?
Is my mic on? Hold on.
Your mic is on, Connor. You're good.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there's. I apologize for not having my camera up. I don't have.
It's all good.
Set up at the moment.
As long as I hear you, you are all good, my guy.
Man, this was kind of not a. It was half of this game was very fun, and half of this game was very not. Obviously, At the end, it came together with the Suwinski home run, but man, does this offense really struggle sometimes?
Oh yeah,
I mean, we can get to that later, but like, Roansy has such good stuff, man.
Oh, yeah, and I'm very happy with Roansy so far. It really begs the question. You guys hear me say this all the time. I'm sure Connor hears me say this all the time. What would this team be like if Roansy was on the team consistently, if O'Neal Cruz was on the team consistently, Mason Martin, a lot of these other guys? And Mateo says Jack had a great at-bat there. He stayed alive a lot of times.
That was a wonderful at-bat.
Yes, it really was.
And I know Melancon hasn't looked especially sharp this year, man, but that looked like a major league at-bat. And
yeah,
that's the kind of thing you want to see.
Oh, yeah. Emmanuel asks how he can join the group chat. You would have to put your Twitter in here, which do that at your own discretion, sir. I don't know who views my live streams, but Pirates Twitter is a very fun place.
It is.
But as we move forward here, of course, the Pirates now with this win have clinched a winning week after sweeping the Dodgers. They could lose tomorrow, lose the series, and still have a 4-2 week. Something I think that is very, very good and very like a big thing to look forward to. But I think it would also be a very big deal to win the series, seeing as who they play next in the Detroit Tigers on Tuesday, a team that is arguably worse than the Pirates right now,
Yeah,
definitely worse
no,
in
they're
record.
bad.
And then, of course, they play Atlanta, who is even under 500. And Emmanuel, there goes his Twitter. Hey, man, we'll do it. We'll do it right there. Hey, man, I'm cool with it. That group chat is a fun time.
Yep.
Thank you all for tuning in, by the way, to the Locked On Pirates podcast. Figured I'd go live after this really fun moment. Dave White says Castro made the error to give the D-backs a run, and that didn't hustle, and then didn't hustle. That might have cost the team a run. So I think, yeah, when I was looking at the score sheet earlier after that happened, they initially credited the run to Contreras, but then I guess they fixed it after the fact, which going back
Did they
again
rule
to
that
Rowan,
initially? Did they rule the Castro error initially a hit and then change it to an error?
yeah, that's what I think what happened.
That's weird. I don't know why that would ever be ruled a hit.
Hey, man,
You never
baseball
know
is
with official
baseball.
scores,
You
man.
never know. No. And I mean, you look at like how things are moving forward as well with the schedule for the rest of this month. I mean, of course, the month just started, but I mean, you have a home series against the Tigers. I think that's a must-win series. You have to win that series to keep this train rolling. The Braves series is a toss-up to me just because I don't really know what the Braves are going to offer at this point. They're kind of one day the best team in baseball, and the next day they're just terrible. And then the Cardinals, who they've struggled with all year,
Yep.
that major series. The Giants, that's going to be a series, but it's a home series. The Cubs, and then the Rays, Nationals, and Brewers to cap off the month. So not exactly like a world beater schedule here, but not exactly an easy one either, is what I would say. And I mean, if they could keep this train rolling, dude, I would go out on a limb and say the Pirates, again, as I talked about on my show the other day, have a real shot to say we could probably go buy some people. Like they don't have to just say, "Oh, we're selling off all these pieces." Like it's not going to happen this year, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think they're selling this year necessarily. I could maybe see like, for example, Stratton. A guy like Stratton. Stratton's not an elite reliever, but he's a good reliever. You know, a guy like Bednar is not getting traded.
No.
I know I've even like brought up the possibility of that, like, hey, maybe if we get elite pitching, but like, no, he's not getting moved. He shouldn't be moved. I was stupid to ever even think about it. But Stratton, yeah, but they're not moving anybody major.
Oh
They're not.
yeah, and then I love when people ask the question about Bednar is if he wasn't from Mars, PA, would they have a different feeling on it? I'm like, I don't
No,
think it has anything to do with where the kid is from. Like,
no.
that's not how baseball operates. It's not how baseball works. That's just not how the sport works. Dave said Chang needs to be released now. That was another one of those moves, Dave, where I was honestly like, I don't get the point of why they did it.
He's a
Especially,
guy.
yeah, he's just a guy at this point. He's just somebody that's there to basically say, "Hey, Mason Martin, we're not going to call you up until after Super 2," which I even flirted with the idea today of talking about the Pirates potentially going after Miguel Andujar. Not something that I expect them to do, but something that I would like to see them do, just because I think at the end of the day, Andujar, again, not a prospect by any means anymore, I don't think. You kind of already know what you're getting out of him, but he's complaining about not getting opportunities in New York, and I'm like, well, you'd get them here because they give everybody opportunities. They give Yu Chang opportunities. Jack Suwinski, who I may add is actually playing very well over the last couple of weeks. For all the hate that I like to throw at him, he is actually playing really, really well. We say it every week, boys. Emmanuel has to say, offense struggling. Where is Cruz? It would not hurt. And no, guys, I'm not related to Chang. Okay, thank you, Emmanuel, for filling that in with us. I didn't know. I felt like you might be his brother or something. You never know. I mean, Ke'Bryan Hayes' dad interacts with everybody on Twitter, so you never know who you might run into.
Walter Bede, apparently,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, Walter Bede as well. Tyler Bede's dad, who says Tyler Bede apparently loves Pittsburgh, which is good. It's very hard not to like the city of
I
Pittsburgh.
haven't fallen in love with him. I hate to say it.
Yeah. But among other things, from a more, I'm obviously a fan too. This is why I do this podcast. But from your standpoint, Connor, what do you think of how the team should carry themselves moving forward with the current state of where they're at?
It's interesting because you don't want to, no matter how much guys are struggling. Like there's that line with I'm going to bring up Rodolfo specifically here because I know a lot of people have talked about, oh, do you send Rodolfo down or not? And a lot of people want it to happen. And I want to believe in Rodolfo. I think he has the skills to be a major leaguer. I think we've absolutely seen the power. We've absolutely seen him make some very good defensive plays. We've also seen him have not good at bats. We've also seen him have very poor defensive showings. And we've also seen him make more than a few mental mistakes on the base paths. And eventually the question becomes of like, how much more could he learn by being in AAA?
Yeah.
Like, I as much as if the option is Cruz or Castro, I'm gonna pick Cruz.
Oh,
Like,
everybody is.
I'm gonna say, oh, send down Castro for Cruz. But at the end of the day, in terms of player development, what more does Rodolfo can learn some of those things in the majors.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a problem. Well, I mean, it's a problem to winning games right now, but this team is probably more concerned with player development than it is with actually the process of winning as many games as possible.
Which is so baffling to me because right now, after this win, they are 23-28.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
don't
like,
understand Rodolfo at short is now that is the one thing I will give people that complain about Rodolfo a lot is that I have no idea why he's still at short.
I didn't want to like get into this too much because it's kind of going down the rabbit hole, and they already have kind of enough options over there. But with his defensive like struggles, I wouldn't even mind seeing him over at first base. Like I know it's not traditional for him,
Because I
but
remember when I saw him in Double-A, he was playing third primarily, I think, and obviously that's not going to be an option now.
yeah, no, Hayes is not going anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, he's not going anywhere. But I don't know if he got any time at first in the minors at all. I would have to look. I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I mean, he's a switch hitter. I routinely forget he's a switch hitter, which is kind of weird.
Yep. Well, and mainly because I think you mainly see him in like you see him in lineups that aren't traditionally like right-handed, I think, or left-handed. I think
Right.
he's more of like the guy that you see in the right-handed lineups. Emmanuel then says the issue with Cruz not being called up can't be well. He plays second base. He's had over 1,000 bats or at bats already. Yes, I agree with that. It's well over 1,500 at bats at this point. And Dave, of course, says something I say all the time. I would call up Swaggerty, Cruz, Richie, and Martin. Richie, that one's a little tough, just because of the fact that like they're kind of dead set on the Heineman and Perez thing. I think, which to each their own here. They can be stuck on that, but I've even already expressed my disinterest in the idea about it because of the fact that they opted and said, "Oh, we excuse me. We want to emphasize having a veteran catcher, which is why they got Roberto Perez." And then you sit there and you think about it, and they give him that, and then they don't replace him after he gets injured. And I was like,
well, they had no plan.
Yeah.
That was probably my biggest question, like going into spring training when it was like so bafflingly unclear who the heck the backup catcher was going to be.
Yeah.
And they never made a real move to actually do anything about it until they got Andrew Knapp. And Knapp was not good. They didn't really get a major leaguer to fill that position when you had a guy that has had an injury history.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't gotten enough criticism for that because it wasn't smart. This predicament at catcher was seen a mile away.
Yeah, and I love the Henry Davis call-up people. Yeah, that ain't happening this year, guys. I will be the first person to tell you right now, Henry Davis is not going to be called up this year. Now, as much as I would love to see it, the only way I think it happens is if they see something astronomically good from him, like he just tears the cover off the ball for like 2 months straight, and then they call him up in September like they did Cruz last year on the final weekend.
Yep.
Like maybe you see him for like the last series of the season if they're not contending, which again, I don't fully expect them to. Some people right now are changing their mind on it a little bit, and I flirt with the idea. But when I'm flirting with the idea, I'm not saying they're going to contend because there's still a ton of time left and arguably too much time left. And that's kind of the scary part about it is it's like, well, where do the Pirates move forward with this kind of stuff when you get to the adage that, oh, well, they're only this many games out of 500. Say they get to a certain part of the season where they can say, we are contending at this point. Like, this is what we are. This is where we're at. Do they bring up the thought of trading some of these prospects they don't use, like a G1 Bay, like a Jared Triolo, who plays third base traditionally, for a guy that's MLB ready? Like I remember earlier I was talking to somebody and said, do you think the Yankees would accept Jared Triolo and Rodolfo Nolasco for Miguel Andujar? And they said, probably. I'm like, I'd be perfectly
And
fine with that.
Duhar has like 2 years of control left still. I think
Yeah,
they're both ARB years, right?
Yeah, he's arbitration eligible until 2025. So that is a big help.
He's arbitration eligible in 2025 also, or that's when he becomes a free agent?
He's a free agent in 2025.
Okay, so after the 2024 season.
Which isn't bad because, I mean, that's 2 full years that you get a chance to say, okay, well, we can do this. And I'm like, awesome.
It kind of depends on what the asking price is, really.
Yeah. This has been an up and down
You're
season.
not going to see them make a major move unless it's a guy that they know is going to be around for the next several years.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it's getting a little interesting. Let me get this out of here. Yeah.
I think the most likely thing that they do at the deadline is essentially nothing. I mean, that's the most likely option for them.
Sorry, I'm dealing with this.
That's fine. And I mean,
there we go.
It's hard to imagine them actually.
Let me do this real quick. It does not go away. All right, guys. Everybody disregard that stuff on the screen, by the way. But Mateo said this has been an up and down season. And if you had told me before the season that we would be 23 and 28, I would have been thrilled. That's kind of where I am too. I'll be honest, man. I'm very much on that same ballpark with you. I really, starting even last month, I was like, dude, the fact that they're like only this under 500, I was like, this is awesome. I'm like, and it's fun because they're also not, they're not entirely bad either. Like my dad called me the other day and he said, man, you're watching this team, right? I was like, well, yeah, I host a podcast on it. I hope I am. And he was saying, he was like, this team's just fun to watch. And I wanted your thoughts on that too. Like, is this team just genuine? Like, I know there's times where they're not, but is this team just genuinely a fun watch? So, like, more times than not.
They're on pace for 73 wins right now. I mean, if with their current winning percentage, I mean, that's not bad.
No.
I mean, going into this season, there were specific people who were saying things like, this is going to be the worst Pirates team you've ever seen in your life.
You saw that in 2020, I think. In a truncated year, I think that was the worst Pirates team we will see for a very long
That team
time.
was bad. Yeah.
And, well, and it was sad, too, because that team now, if you look at the players that were on that team, a lot of those players are actually doing very well for themselves, like Josh Bell, Jamison Tyone, for example, who had 8 perfect innings yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, he was great yesterday.
Dave said I predicted 75 wins, but now I'm about to get greedy and add a few more.
I went 68. That was my number before the season because I figured they were. I didn't expect guys like Jack Suwinski to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I didn't expect.
Yeah, and I mean, I flirted with his name.
Contributed harder than I thought they would.
Yeah, and I flirted with his name being mentioned, but I was also like, you know, like we'll see what they decide to do.
Chavis isn't necessarily a young guy, but I didn't really expect him to be. He's not. Listen, I think some people are overreacting. I don't think he's that great. I think his line right now is not going to be his line at the end of the season.
No.
It's not going to be.
And that's also in a smaller sample size because he doesn't play every day either. So you got to understand that like a lot of that stuff is a smaller sample size.
Right. But he's a contributor. He has contributed positively to this team. That was not something I expected from him.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few guys that I didn't really expect, and so it's very possible at the end of the year I went under. And I mean, I'm pleased with that. If they get to 70 wins, I'm totally happy.
Yeah, I mean,
That
anything
means
above.
it's not a lost season. You hung around, you fought in there, you got some good wins.
And Dave brings up another great point too about Quintana. Yeah, I didn't expect that from Quintana at all.
Yeah, I mean, some of the peripherals with him don't necessarily line up, but I mean, results are results. And I just think there's something with him. I don't know if he's just deceptive, but I mean, he looked good against the Dodgers lineup the other night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it is a deception thing, but results matter.
They do. I just wish this team would understand that more often, that the results matter. It's not, oh, we're trying to do this. Samuel asks, what do I think Rowanzi's odds are at Rookie of the Year?
I think they could be good, especially like right now. Like right now, there really aren't a whole lot of bats that are going
No.
for National League Rookie of the Year. If the season ended today, might as well be Gore. For
Yeah,
all I know.
Mackenzie Gore would get it. If the season ended today, Mackenzie Gore would be the NL Rookie of the
So
Year.
at the end of the year, I would not be shocked to see this come down to Rowanzi and Gore, the way that they are both pitching.
Yeah, and then Hunter Green has flirted in that idea too, but his FIP numbers are awful. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like if Hunter Green is in that conversation, I think you can already throw Rowanzi in that conversation. Because, I mean, you're talking about a guy who has a sub-2 ERA through a good amount of innings. Like, he's not playing chump change innings here. Like, he's doing pretty good. So, I mean,
If Jack keeps going, maybe you throw him in there too.
yeah, true. I mean, he leads all NL rookies in home runs right now, if I'm not mistaken.
What's his on base up to?
His on base, look, it has to be higher. It has to be pretty decent. Hold on. But then also Mateo says watching the Pirates sweep the Dodgers the other day was one of the best Pirates moments in a while. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the happiest moments I've had since new management took over. Because I mean, it finally felt like there were guys that could be part of the future that were contributing.
Yep.
I mean, we've always kind of known that about Reynolds. We've known that about Hayes. But I mean, there are more than just those guys now.
Yeah, it's like
Bednar,
actually, wait a second. Like there's
Rowanzi
like,
didn't pitch in that series, but I mean, we know he's going to be around.
oh, if Rowanzi
Davis
pitched in
looks
that
like he could
series,
be a
man.
piece. Yeah.
Ooh.
As the season has gone on, there's been kind of a turning point mentally for me. And I think part of that, and I mean, this is going to sound kind of mean, but it's because I haven't had to watch Tsutsugo be trotted out there every day.
It's not mean. I mean,
It's that guy's he's bad.
I'm
When
just
he comes
waiting.
off of injury, they can't put him back out there. They
Well, and
just
that's.
can't.
I was just about to get to a point about that, about not only Sutsugo,
I know
but
Chang's out there right now, and for all I know, they're going to move Chang down, and Tsutsugo's going to take over what Chang's been doing.
mm-hmm.
But like outside of that, I can't imagine if Tsutsugo doesn't turn things around substantially immediately, he can't be on the team for long.
No.
Because
And
even Van Meter turned around. If Van Meter hadn't turned it around a little bit, I don't think he would be on the team right now. I think he would be, but there wouldn't be an excuse for him to be on the team still. He fractured his finger, didn't he?
who
Van Meter. How
I
serious is that?
believe so, yeah.
That seemed like a weird injury. He fractured his finger receiving a relay from Castillo, didn't he?
Yes.
That's so odd. I'm not sure I've ever seen that. Maybe the ball just hit him like in the tip of the finger through the glove or something. I have no idea.
I think it had something to do as well with trying to think. It had something to do, yeah, with how he caught the ball, I'm pretty sure. Baseball's baseball. You asked about Suwinski, by the way. His OPS is up to a 675.
All right.
So it's not great, but
it's not great. It's not Tsutsugo.
Yeah, but And that's what I was going to say though is about Kevin Newman as well. Is it's like he's kind of become an afterthought now. Like if you really think about it in a sense, is it's
It's
like
getting crowded.
yeah.
I mean, and eventually those are. I'm not going to say it's a good problem to have because not everybody is necessarily performing, but at least it's a better problem than where it's, some of these guys could be something.
Yeah.
It's not where you have a crowded situation of just everybody's just garbage that you got from other teams.
I
Although
agree.
there's still plenty of that to go around.
Man, don't even get me started, dude. It being a Pirates fan, this is something we've been waiting on for a while, I believe. And now that we're finally getting it again, it's like, oh wow, like this is actually a thing. Like this team isn't awful. And
Right.
I'm not here to tell anybody that this
If you
team is
take out
good.
those two really bad losses,
Yep.
the 21-0 loss to the Cubs and the 18-4 loss, I don't know what the team's ERA plus stands at right now, but I looked the other day and it was like 97
Hmm.
on the season. If you take out the 21-1 loss and the 18-4 loss, I really wouldn't be surprised if the pitching as a whole this season has been slightly above average.
That's something I'd actually have to look into. I'm not really sure actually.
The pitching has been surprisingly competent and the offense has somehow managed to not be the worst in the league.
Yeah,
It feels like it.
it
It
does
really
definitely
does.
feel like it.
It feels like it when you have the black hole that is Michael Perez, and Tsutsugo hasn't played in a while, but when he was there, he was a black hole.
Hmm.
Somehow they've managed to avoid being the worst offense.
I don't think this team will have a long losing streak like they had last year. I mean, those kind of things can happen to anybody, though. That's the only thing I think I'm a little worried about with that is that can happen to literally any team. Like who was it? What team was it that had that long losing streak recently? It was a decent team too. I think the Angels. Yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah. And then there was it the 2018 or the 2019 team that right after the All-Star break, they just had this awful month where they lost like 22 of 30 games.
Hmm.
It was just something terrible. And that like completely crapped their season.
I believe it was the 2018 team.
Yeah,
I
because
think
it was after they
Archer.
traded for Archer, right?
Yeah.
And they just because it was after that winning streak, and then they traded for Archer, and then they just had this awful month.
Oh yeah, but Connor, did you have any other thoughts or anything before we get off today?
Can I complain about bullpen usage a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. Go off, King.
So I don't understand the way that this bullpen has been used at all. Like I mentioned, the pitching as a whole has been fairly competent. There are some guys in that bullpen. I like Underwood. I think people don't respect Underwood enough. I think he's a competent pitcher. He got dealt a really raw deal last year because he was out there, especially in the second half, throwing like 2 innings twice a week because our starters were so bad.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a not fun time.
And we literally rode him until his arm just couldn't anymore. He was like, he didn't he at one point he was leading the league in innings among relievers. Like he finished with like 60 or 70 innings and he missed like the last month and a half of the season.
That does not surprise me. I don't know.
Because it was bad. So I think people don't respect him enough. I think Stratton at times it hasn't looked great, but the underlines suggest that he's actually pitching a lot better than the results have been saying. I like Stratton. Obviously, we all know Bednar's elite, but I just don't understand the usage sometimes. Like in that Dodgers series, I have no idea why Tyler Beede was brought into that game.
Couldn't tell you on that one, dude.
Like
I have no idea.
Like especially with or when who was it we brought in the 8-4 win, the last game of the series? Who did we bring in? And I was just like, why didn't we bring in Yeri? Who was it that gave up the home run to?
That was not Tyler Beede.
Yeah, it wasn't Beede.
It was Bonda. Yeah, it was Anthony
Bonda. Like sometimes I don't understand like the usage in specifically like when they bring specific guys in.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's
Tyler
something.
Bede should not sniff the field when the Pirates are close or leading a game.
Yeah, I mean, or if they just literally don't have anybody else. Like that's like the other thing that I was like flirting with the idea of that too. But that could actually be an episode that me and Gary talk about
Like,
bullpen usage.
Yuri didn't pitch that game, and there was an off day the next day. Tyler Bede only pitched 1 inning. And I have no idea why he was put in that game when Yuri hadn't pitched by that point. It had been how many days had it been by that point? Because he's only made 2 appearances.
It's been about 4 or 5 days. Oh my god, why is this happening?
And Bede's just it's frustration because like I wouldn't be so mad if Bede wasn't just another guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just somebody else's garbage.
Yeah. Well, it appears the bots have decided to raid the live stream, guys. So with that said, Connor has actually given me some ideas for episodes this week about bullpen usage and certain players and their
And
usage.
the Bednar thing scared the crap out of me, man.
Oh yeah.
If that guy hurts his arm, man, I'm making a road trip to Derek Shelton's house.
Yeah, you got to.
That Shelton is going to overuse Bednar. I mean, letting him go 50 pitches, I mean, Bednar's got that dog in him, man, but that's dangerous.
He does indeed have that dog in him.
Like that was a scary moment.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think hopefully he doesn't get hurt, man. But Connor, I appreciate you, dude.
Pleasure.
Oh yeah, of course. Mateo, Dave, Locked On Yankees host Stacey Gatsuli has even popped in here. Samuel, Emmanuel, had the whole like rhyming scheme going on here. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate
Next time,
it so much.
Pop the link in the group chat again, I'll try to get my camera.
Oh yeah, of course.
All right.
Oh yeah, guys, thank you so much. And of course, this is the Locked On Pirates podcast, and you guys already know you'll see me on the